Hello and welcome back. And so in our previous segment we were talking about what causes the different phases of the moon. Well, now we want to talk about what causes eclipses of the sun and the moon. So there are two kinds of eclipses, the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. So let's first talk about a solar eclipse. So a solar eclipse is going to occur whenever the moon gets in between the sun and the earth. So if we pretend that this over here is the sun, and then we've got our moon globe here, and if we put it in between, then a shadow of the moon will be cast onto the earth. So that's going to be a solar eclipse. Now, when you think about it, how often does the moon go around the earth? Okay, it goes around once per month. So that means that every month there is the possibility of an eclipse. So the moon once a month would be in this position where it could cast a shadow onto the earth. All right, now how many months are in a year? 12. So that means that about 12 to 13 times per year there could be a solar eclipse. Now the reason for the 13 is because the Earth is also orbiting the sun. So the Earth travels an extra little distance there, which means it's possible that the moon, like about 13 times per year, could get in the way. But you don't have an eclipse 13 times per year. So what's going on with this? So it turns out that eclipses only happen like twice per year. So they're called eclipse seasons. So in order to understand this, I got a little video that I need for you to watch. So it's Moon Tilted Orbit Animation by Metafan 869. So watch that video, pause me, and okay, did you pause me? So did you watch the video? It's going to make this a whole lot easier if you do. Okay, so what did they say in the video was causing the shadow of the moon to miss the earth, so that eclipses normally don't happen that often? And they said it had to do with the tilt of the orbit of the moon. So if I get out my handy dandy orbital simulator here, okay, you got the earth in the middle, and then this would represent the orbit of the moon as it goes around the earth. But what did they show in the video? The orbit is not like this, it is tilted, and not by much, only by about 5 degrees, but it is tilted. So then that would mean that even though the moon is in front of the sun, it could be so high up in its orbit that its shadow would go over the top of the earth and miss the earth. And similarly, 6 months later, now this is hard to do, but 6 months later, let's pretend that the sun is over on that side. Now the tilt, you see, is still tilted like this, so the tilt did not change. Once you have a tilt, it always tilts in the same direction. So 6 months later, let's pretend that the earth is on the other side of the sun's over there, and then let's put the moon down here. So do you see that its shadow would go underneath the earth, and again it would miss it. So the only time when you could have an eclipse, now this is really hard to do, but if I was to take this and put it in front of the earth so that it is like that, it's still tilted, and now you can, the moon is lined up just right in its orbit so that its shadow can hit the earth. And that's only going to happen like 2 times per year. So those are called the eclipse seasons. So that explains solar eclipses. So now let's talk about the lunar eclipses. So a lunar eclipse is going to occur whenever the Earth gets in front of the sun. So we need to put the moon over here on this side. Sun's over here, Earth's here, moon's here. So the shadow of the Earth falls onto the moon. So here's a picture of what it looks like. And you'll notice that in the case of the solar eclipse, it might be over in like 1 minute. Whereas in the case of the lunar eclipse, it might take a half hour to an hour for the shadow of the Earth to go across the moon. Another thing you should notice is the color of the moon can change. So normally the moon looks kind of gray, but during a lunar eclipse it can turn kind of orangey. And so what would be causing that? Well, as the sunlight is going past the Earth, it's going through the Earth's atmosphere. And the Earth's atmosphere absorbs certain colors of light, and then what's left over is transmitted. So the light that manages to make it through the atmosphere is going to be kind of an orangey color, and then that color is what colors the moon to make it look like that orange color. So normally this doesn't happen. The light doesn't go through the atmosphere and then hit the moon, so the moon just looks gray. So that was eclipses of the sun and the moon. So in our next segment, we're going to talk about the seasons and what causes them.